Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Dolls of Horror podcast, the spot to feed your tormented addiction. I'm Summer, and today I have with me a very, very, very special guest. I'm so excited. Mr. Brett Wagner. Welcome, sir.
Wow. Thank you. What a great intro. I'm the
Man,
one that should be excited. You got everything going on right now. So it's just an honor to be able to come on here and BS with you.
just as much of an honor for me. I've been watching you since I was a child.
I am kind of old. My birthday's coming up, as a matter of fact. New
Oh,
Year's Eve, I'll be 56.
that's not bad. That's not too old. That's not too old at all.
Ugh,
Uh,
my diabetes and my body say different.
Well, I've been having joint issues since I was a teenager. I was an athlete, so I broke my body early. So I just made 41 a few weeks ago, and I feel more like 61.
Wow.
I
Yeah,
can't.
wait till
Sometimes I
once
can't.
you hit 50, it'll be 70, but you'll be fine. You look
I
good.
get up and I'm
That's
like,
all that matters.
I can't walk. My joints are all my joints are locked up, and I gotta like stretch them out. So yeah, I'm a little old lady over here, but that's all right. I still look okay, and so do you. So that's all that
Well, thank
matters.
you. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Okay, sir. First, I gotta say, you were in a movie that I really, really love, and I just happen to own it. All right. It
The
is
Hannah Montana Christmas Vacation?
no.
Oh,
Yeah, I aged out of that, but I told you I'm a dancer, or was.
oh, yes.
Um, I just happen to own Bloody Ballet
Oh my gosh. Bloody Ballet.
on
Yes.
DVD. I've had it since it came out. I pre-ordered it, and I'm a physical media, obsessed person. So yeah, I also have Texas Chainsaw, but this is the one for me. So
That was fun to work on. That was the first time Caroline Williams is in that, I believe, and we got to. I've known her doing the convention circuit and in Los Angeles, and hanging out and doing some stuff in L.A. And so yeah, I was very excited about that. That we had a different name for that at first. Um,
yeah,
I think it was called Phantasma, and they changed the name to Bloody Ballet. I could be wrong. It's been a while, but yeah, great director, great people working on that, and fun movie.
you are actually correct. Because it's on the back. A controlled chaos enterprises phantasma. So it does say it on the back, even though the front says Bloody Ballet.
Yeah, and our director's name down there?
Um,
I
written
think we
by
share the.
Brett Mullen. Where is the director? I also don't have my eyes on assistant director Kevin Welsh. I know I just can't see it because it's got to be
It's gonna
here.
be there.
Art director, assistant director,
Bloody
featuring
Ballet. I'm
really?
gonna I'm
Yeah,
gonna look it up right here, right now.
it's
Bloody Ballet.
actually not on the
Brett
back.
Mullins, I believe. Yeah, Brett.
Okay. He's credited also as written and director of
Yeah,
photography, so
Brett Mullen. Um,
that's done
a
right.
real good quick thing about Brett Mullen. He makes a living doing videos for other folks, right? He's such a good director and such a creative mind with horror. But he does, like if you have a business, like he's going to come in and go, Summer, all right, we're going to do a marketing video for you, and we're going to let the whole world see what you do. And he's so good at that
Yeah.
that's what he does so much, and he never has time. And he got married, had a baby, and I'm like, Brett, you got to get back directing again because he's a tremendous guy and he's good for the business. So hopefully, Brett Mullen will get back out there and start directing some horror again.
That would be amazing because this was a beautiful movie. It looked great. It sounded great, which is hard to do on some indie films. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, even though the dancing was questionable. I'll forgive it. You can't have everything. So,
Well, I think it's anytime you're doing a movie and you're specifically with something, like if you're doing a drag racing movie, if you were doing something with motorcycles, you really want to make sure you got everybody in there that knows how to ride a bike or knows how to drive a car
yeah,
or knows how to dance. Now,
yeah.
I can't tell you about dancing, so, uh, but now you're going to make me go rewatch that movie tonight.
Well, I can tell you about dancing, and I'm like, mm.
Well, yeah.
But you know what? It's okay. It's an indie film. They couldn't hire dancers who could act. They had to hire actors who they could make look like dancers. Can't have everything,
Can't
especially
have
when you have
everything.
a budget. So
Sure.
if it was the big budget ones, I have way more of a beef with. And I'm like, why can't you? There's a lot of ballerinas that are really great actors. So why are you hiring like a double when you could have got the real thing? Anyway, that's just my beef. But indie films, I will definitely forgive it. You got to make do with what you can do. Okay, Big Schwag.
Yes.
How'd you get that name?
Um. So I got into the world of professional wrestling when I was like 30. From 30 to 35, I was doing pro wrestling, and a lot of guys. My last name's Wagner, and I had a buddy when we used to work the doors, and I was a bouncer in Hollywood. I worked with R.A. Mihailov for many years back in the day when we were, the gruesome twosome throwing folks out of big nightclubs in Hollywood and all that stuff. And so they called me Schwagner. Don't ask me why. So when I started doing pro wrestling, I was like, well, I just call myself the Big Schwag. And then I did that for a couple of years, but in the middle of that, I got to do the voice of a popular TV show, Monster Garage, with Jesse James on Discovery Channel. So I was like, well, I'm going to try to brand myself, and now I'm going to be on TV 5 nights a week, so I might as well call myself the Big Schwag. Hey, it's the Big Schwag. You're listening to blah blah blah. So
And
I
people will
did that.
remember that. It's not like, "Hi, this is John."
Yeah, hi, this is Brett Wagner.
Yeah.
It's very so. I tried to do the Schwag thing. So which is funny is because later on I hosted a drag racing show called Pastime, not RuPaul drag racing, but cars going down the strip. Not that I wouldn't go on RuPaul for the kind of money they make.
And it's a
But
whole new audience.
whole new audience. But people used to come up, and they go, and so they didn't want to use the Schwag name. They wanted Brett Wagner, which made my mom very happy at the time because, hey, it's, who's Schwag? I want my son's name out there. So people would come up and go, hey, Big Schwag. And I'd be like, all right, and then the producers were like, well, in my ear, they're like, maybe we should just it doesn't matter. They can call you Schwag if they want. I'm like, nah, we're already stuck on Brett Wagner for a couple of years here. Let's just keep it going. So yeah, Big Schwag. That's what I was known for Monster Garage and the pro wrestling world. So
And when people recognize you on the street? They must because you're such a popular
um,
face.
it just depends. If it's drag racer car stuff, people will come up. Some people, because I hosted a couple episodes of Monster Garage when Jesse James had his appendix burst or something else happened. So I got to fill in as the host, and
Mhm.
so some people will do that. But I've been in LA I've been in Hollywood acting for 30 years, so I've done so many different shows. I mean, I literally have people come up and go, "I saw you on Hannah Montana," and I was like, "What are you watching Hannah Montana? You're 50-year-old sir. I don't Oh, I got kids." I'm like, "Good
Yeah.
excuse. Good excuse." Yeah. So sometimes you get recognized. It's I've also done a lot of creature work, as we call it, under the mask and stuff. So sometimes people will, you know, you were in some kind of movie under a mask, and I was in a couple different things, but sometimes they'll recognize me from the crazies because
Mhm.
I had my mohawk, and I had, I still kind of looked like this,
That was a
which was
good
a
role.
very
That
fun movie to
was a
do, by
very
the
good
way. Yeah.
role. Of course, I remember you from, I mean, you were sprinkled throughout my teenage years on many shows, right? Just popping in every now and then, usually as some sort of security guard. But I really remember Nikki, Nikki Cox's show.
Oh my gosh.
So that's how far back I go with you. Also the Huntress.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, I love me
Then
some Annette, right?
oh my
Um,
god, you're really going back.
Sliders.
Well, that is, I don't even remember myself being on Sliders, but that was probably one of the first acting gigs I ever got in my life. I mean, the first acting gig I ever got, I mean, I'm 56, so I think my first acting gig I got was when I was 20 or 21, and it was a Tostitos commercial, which I got cut out of. But that's what got me into the union.
Yeah.
And, but that's part of life, right? You audition for thousands of things, you'll only book a little bit,
Mhm.
and you will get cut out of a lot of stuff.
Yep.
It just happens. I did a movie with Gerard Butler called Machine Gun Preacher, and I had a great scene with Gerard Butler, and I was so excited. And then we go to the premiere, and he likes to be called Jerry. So if you autograph seekers are out there and you see him, he likes to be called Jerry. Hey, it's Jerry. And I said Jerry, and I said, and he comes over and he goes, and my wife's with me. We're on the red carpet. And he goes, "Listen, bud, I'm real sorry. The movie was 2 hours, almost 3 hours, and we had to cut some stuff out. And unfortunately, your scene got cut out." But I was like, having Gerard Butler tell you you got cut out of his movie personally
Right.
before we went inside and I got shocked was still pretty cool. So
Yeah. I'm always very apprehensive when I've done a couple of movies. The first one was just released a few months ago, and I was not telling a lot of people because I only filmed 2 scenes. Only one made it in. As far as I knew, none of them would make it in. I was still invited to the premiere, but I wasn't telling a lot of people until I saw it because I'm like, "I'm in a movie," and then it's like, "Guess what? I'm not in a movie." So I was
what,
worried.
can I go watch this movie?
Not yet. It's they're
Okay,
taking care of um, the GoFundMe people who help contribute to it, so they're getting them their DVDs and stuff first, and then he said it'll be available for streamers probably after the holidays.
very
So
nice.
I opened the movie, so don't be late or you'll miss me.
That's I did I got was lucky enough to do a movie with called John Dies at the End with Don Coscarelli directing, and
Yeah.
they had already shot the movie, but somehow he got a hold of. He said, I really like that guy. I really like this look, and he had a cover of Fangoria, which would happen to be the issue I got on for the Crazies. He's like, I like that look, and that producer named Brad said, Hey, I not only can I get that look, I can get the guy.
Yeah.
So I was so exciting, but I'm in literally the first 3 minutes of the movie. So I was telling people, hey, make sure you get there early. You can leave after 10 minutes if you don't like the movie, but you got to be there the first 10 minutes at least.
Exactly.
So,
I
but that's a
wasn't
good thing.
expecting to make
But
it at
Summer,
all, honestly.
Summer, to be the last thing in the movie or be the first scene in the movie, it's a good thing, right? Because
Right.
people are going to remember the beginning, and they're going to remember the end.
Yeah, and honestly, the best part was it was a great experience. Um, I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I observed a lot. So it was really good. My background, as we talked about, is in musical theater. Film is a whole other beast. So I was just trying to figure it all out. And the director was really good and really good at giving direction, really efficient. The cast was really amazing and really wonderful and nice and kind. The headliner, who I didn't work with though, I know, was Danielle Harris. So she's the name. She filmed her scenes, the week after I did mine, but yeah, and it was pretty a pretty fun little film. It's Doctor Gift, and it's like a plague doctor in a haunted house and a bunch of things. So, yeah, good times.
I love it. I'm already sold.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good time, man. I had a lot of fun, and like I said, the crew was just really great, and can't ask for more than that, right?
You can't ask. I mean, that's have to look at if you can get on a movie. I've done. I mean, I've over 30 years. I've done over 100 TV, TV and films combined, and
Mhm.
it's if you can get on a movie. It doesn't really matter what the budget is. You can be on a movie that's $100 million and you have the worst experience of your life. You can
Mhm.
be on a movie that's $60,000
Mhm.
and it can be the best experience of your life. So, if you have a great cast and crew, I mean, especially if you have even if the cast, if you don't like who you're working with, and that happens.
Oh, yeah.
But if you have a good crew and a good director and the people that are behind the scenes doing stuff, it's just like conventions, right? You go to
Mhm.
conventions. If the people that, not the owners, but the people helping the volunteers and all that are really good people, man, they'll make it fun for you to be there at that convention and sign it. Same with the movie.
Mhm. Exactly. I'm very fortunate. I was with a group of people on this one that, taught me a lot, and we're happy to do it. I was there to learn, and they were very, very accommodating to that, so that was really great. Instead of just saying, "Go away, we're busy." I really wanted to just know how this was done. I went into this is like school.
You
So
know, and that's good. When I first started acting, I didn't know what to do on a movie set, and you can either sit in your trailer, which I normally will do anyways. I like, hey, look, you tell the first AD or the second AD, I'm in my trailer. You need me, that's where I'm at, right?
mhm.
But I used to love to walk around and go around and check out. I mean, I got to work with John Malkovich, and I really wanted to watch him. So if you don't know how to get around on walk around on a set on a TV show or at a studio somewhere, it could be a pain. It could be a little bit of a pain, and people will say, "What are you doing? Get back to you." But if you've learned that stuff and you're quiet and you stay out of the way
Mhm.
and you get this, I mean, I love watching these other, especially John Malkovich, for God's sakes, and some of these other actors. I got to work with Robin Williams on my first movie I ever did called Bicentennial Man. And I just used to watch him. I'd sit in the corner and they were like, yeah, you're fine. And it was just so cool to be able to watch these guys work and go, wow, I'm working with Robin Williams. So,
Yeah. It's like
excuse me,
school. You're figuring out what they're doing to accomplish what they have. Kane Hodder has said the same thing. That's how he's a very talented actor. People think of him, as a monster, Jason Hatchet, all that. He's so good when he's able to speak and emote. He's amazing.
yeah, he
So,
is. He's been doing it a long time too. He's
yeah,
he's and he's got, yeah. People don't realize that like, wow, he's not just Jason, or
right.
Victor Crowley. The guy's been also acting for 30 years as well.
Yeah. I really loved his one of the Hatchet ones. I might have been two or part two or three. He spent a lot of time, a few scenes out of the makeup, and he had really emotional scenes, and it was really good, really, really good. Wow, blown away. So, you know, it's pretty great. And he said that that's how he learned a lot of what he did was by observing people like Charlize Theron on Monster and such. So, yeah.
And there's a powerhouse of a lady. I
Mhm.
mean, even as a guy, I mean, you can learn anything. It doesn't matter if it's a woman or a man that you're watching. So but when you watch some of those actors like Charlize, that's just, especially that movie Monster, for God's sakes. I mean, she deserved every bit of that Academy Award, and that movie was so good, and she was so good that you can learn a lot,
Absolutely.
by
You just
by
have to
just
be open to it.
just using your eyes.
And ears.
Oh, you got to use those too. That's right.
Yeah, you gotta listen. Just shut up and listen.
Yeah.
So, where did your love of performing start? Did it start with wrestling? Did it start before this?
So, Summer, I was a kid. Um, I used to watch a lot of Night Gallery. The Outer Limits, Tales from the Dark Side,
Yes.
Twilight Zone.
Mhm.
And I just knew as a kid I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be a monster guy. I wanted to get in makeup and scare people. And as I got a little older, um, we had a local carnival would come to town every year to this park where I lived. And I was a kid, 10, 11 year, 12 years old. And I always go over, and one of the guys was there, and you throw you throw the ball at the bottles. And if you knock them over, and all the time you'd be like, hey man, I got to go take a smoke break. You want to fill in for me? And I'm like, what? So here I am, at a carnival, 11, 12 years old, oh, come on, hit the ball, blah, 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 yelling and screaming. And I was like, well, this is fun. And then it kind of went from there. When I was working as a bouncer, and I was doing bodyguard work. I mean, I was 17 years old, and I was working in Hollywood at these big bars and clubs. And I just decided, like, I think 19, to take some acting lessons in class. And I started off in a John Robert Powers modeling and acting thing, which was such a mistake. But because you're working with kids, and it was not there was a scam, but none of these kids had any were going to go anywhere. And I'm like this, 20-year-old, 19-year-old guy in a class with a bunch of kids learning acting. But I got a commercial agent from that, and then I got into Hollywood and got into some real acting classes, and I just it was a process. And of course, you don't. I mean, I didn't get gigs for a long time,
Hmm.
and it took a long time before I even did anything horror wise. And I probably was the first gig I got, I think, was on Buffy or Angel under makeup, and I was like, oh my gosh, I finally have done what I wanted to do in this business in the first place. But yeah, so I knew as a kid that I wanted to do it. I wanted to be an actor, and scary movies and all that was my thing. George Romero, I mean, Night of the Living Dead, 1967, still a scary movie today, one of the greats. And Dawn of the Dead is my favorite movie of all time.
Really?
78. I mean, the remake wasn't bad, but 78 with Tom Savini and all those guys and
Hmm.
Ken Foree and all those guys was just, it's still
Ken,
my,
I love Ken. He's so
he's such a
nice.
good guy and such a big man, too. You don't want to piss him off. He's a large fella.
He is large. You guys are about the same height, but he's very broad.
He is broad,
Yeah.
but a great guy.
He's a big
I,
teddy bear. Don't tell anyone I said that.
I don't know anything about that, but he's a wonderful guy. I've met him just on occasion.
Mm.
We used to get our pictures done at the same place called Prince Charming in Studio City. So
Cute.
once in a while, he'd be in there. And the funny thing is the guy would never let anybody use. You can't use the bathroom, but he never said no to Ken. Ken needed to use the bath, and I'm like, well, if you're letting him use the bathroom, and for God's sakes, the big swag gets to use the bathroom as well. So
So you have been a horror fan for pretty much your entire life, correct? Do you remember your first horror film?
I do. It was the first horror movie, scary movie I ever saw was called Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, which is a very campy zombie movie, early 70s. I can't tell you what the date was. I'd have to look it up. But
Mhm.
I just remember hearing the title go, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Wow, I got to watch this thing. And I remember my mom saying, okay, you can watch it. And I watched it. Then it was Night of the Living Dead. And then I got into the Universal horror movies, you know, all the
Mm.
Frankenstein and Creature from the Black Lagoon. And then as I got older, I progressed into the Hammer films. You know, Christopher
Yeah.
Lee is still that's my Dracula,
Ah.
right? As much as I like how, but Christopher Lee was my guy. That was a
Mhm.
scary Dracula. And then of course I love Blackula. I love give me a give me a good Blackula, and which is could be a good remake if someone would do that. But so I loved yeah, I just love the whole genre. But yeah, that was my early stuff. And then as I got older, you would trade VHS tapes with folks, and it just
Yes.
it'd be like, what you got? I don't know. Or, when we
Yeah.
would we'd find the local video store and go, oh my gosh, what's Cannibal Holocaust? What the hell is banned in 48 countries? Of course, we had our Faces of Death, and
Yeah.
that made the rounds through the neighborhoods, of course, and
Those
but
video
yeah.
store days were magical when you just go and you pick a movie based on the cover art alone sometimes. So great.
you know, and I tell a lot of because as of late I've worked with a lot of young filmmakers over the last couple of years doing some stuff, and I tell them, I said, your cover art is so important, your poster art is so important, because when I'm walking through Best Buy, and I still do it at this age, and I go look for the horror movie section to
Mhm.
see what's available. If your movie doesn't catch my eye, or I haven't heard a review on it, if I
Mhm.
can't see something that looks cool, I'm not going to pick it up.
Mhm.
But sometimes they do great work, and you pick it up, and the movie's still crap.
Yep.
But
Oh yeah.
I went and bought it. I spent the money, and I bought it, and it's too late now. And now it's in my collection.
Do you have the issue I have? Okay, so are you a physical media guy?
Yes,
You like to own your DVDs and such?
of course.
Yeah, I have a thing I can't get rid of any movie, even if I hate it. I have this guilt that I can't even give it away. I'm stuck with it forever on my shelf staring at me and I just can't get rid
Summer,
of it.
I have VHS tapes, right?
Really?
I still have a couple hundred VHS tapes. I have because Dawn of the Dead, they would make every year they put out a different version, 5 more extra minutes. Oh, the exclusive bloody version of Dawn of the Dead, and so I had probably 10 to 12 different just copies of that on VHS. And then of course once DVDs came in, I mean, I used to have laser discs for God's sakes, but
Yeah.
I shouldn't even done that. I have recently gotten rid of all those to folks that people still want them if they have
Laser
a
discs have beautiful covers. Like,
yes.
they're almost like records. So they're I bought a laser disc knowing I'd never be able to play it just because I wanted to have it signed and hung on my wall. So there's nothing wrong with a laser disc. There really isn't,
There's nothing.
especially if the cover is still intact.
Yeah. So yeah, we it just becomes a problem later on. You know, when you're we have a garage sale once or twice a year. My wife will do a garage sale, and it's oh boy, my light just went out. That's fine. It's you know, she'll go through. We got to get rid of this stuff, and I'll be like, all right, let me look. But you know, people do love. They go, you got any horror stuff? And we're like, wow, yeah, we do. So we'll get rid of some stuff. You know, reluctantly, I will let some stuff go.
Yeah, a few things I've managed to part with, I give it away to somebody who I know is going to appreciate it. And I don't know if you guys have this out there, I think you do, but in Chicago, walking down the street, you got these like little stands, little community libraries where people can like leave books, take books,
Oh
and
yeah,
give you
yeah.
keys, right? And so sometimes I'll stick something in there. I'm like, someone's going to find it and want it maybe, and then it'll have a new home. I did that with a few books that I really, really, really didn't like. So but yeah, so I use that a lot actually, and I found some great things in there too. I snagged a Betamax of Return to Oz from there, and I just had to
Wow.
I just had to. That of that movie specifically, I felt it was meant to be because Return to Oz was the first first recollection of renting a movie on Beta. So the fact that it was there, I had to have it for my collection. How am I gonna play a beta? I can't, but I have it.
We'll find you a beta player somewhere. There's somebody out there has got one.
Right.
There's got to be something there.
Yeah, and I was born in '82, so I have this memory of I don't know how old I was, maybe like 7. They were crossing over from beta to VHS, so there was both versions of tapes on the shelves. But I always wanted to check out the betas because they were small and cute. I
Yeah,
remember
80,
seeing that.
82. I was in the 7th grade.
Was
Yes,
was that a good year for you? Was 7th grade a good year?
that was. I was. I
Yeah.
think I was. Yes, it was a pretty good year. If I can remember correctly, I had good times 7th and 8th grade year.
I did very well in 7th grade, 7th and 8th grade. I always say that and it's kind of true. I peaked at 14. I was like when I was at the height of my figure skating career and then I just like it all went down from there. So I peaked at 14. I peaked in 1997.
Life happens. Yes,
Yeah.
I probably peaked as a yes. I might have peaked at 19, but we still. It's like a drug. You're still chasing that high. I'm going to get that high back. It's like you know, when I got the cover of Fangoria magazine, to me that was being a horror guy. I was like, oh my god,
Biggest
I
honor
can't
ever.
believe I just got on the cover of Fangoria magazine. But now it's like heroin. I'm chasing that dragon again. I got to get on another cover or something. So
Well, that's high honors.
it is. But you know, I got friends that have been. You know, Kane has been on there 8 million times.
Yeah.
Derek Mears has been on a ton of time. I mean, all these guys have been
Derek
on
is
so
my
many times.
hometown hero, by the way.
Derek,
Derek is from Bakersfield. He's
yep.
like 10 years older than I am about, and I used to watch him perform improv at a pizzeria when I was 10 years old.
People, so people do not understand. And I went and watched called sports
Comedy
comedy
Sports.
improv
Yeah.
in Hollywood. Derek Mears is so good at improv. And if folks don't understand what improv is, comedy improv, and they'll put him up on stage, and you can throw out a few. There'd be a couple people up there, 3 people up on stage. They'll go to the crowd and say, "Throw us a word, throw us a," and then he'll just go off and do that. And he's so funny. And we used to go watch him. I think it was called Comedy Sports,
Yeah.
and we would go watch him, and I'd be just like, and I think I'm funny, and I have a comedy improv background, and I am not even near close to what he can do and some of his people that were in his group. Just amazing. Yes, Bakersfield. That's right. You are from the
Yeah.
field,
The
as we call it.
field. I was 10 years old. watching him perform improv. We have all the same theater friends out there too. Like we have the same mutual Facebook friends from the theater. I just knew them a little later. It's so funny. And yeah, so the first time I met him years and years and years ago before I was working horror, uh I told him that, yeah, I used to watch you when I was 10 at like Lamppost Pizza. He's like, "What?"
Especially
Yeah.
when you name the pizza joint. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
he's very brilliant, and
so talented. Improv is the most difficult, in my opinion, the most difficult art form acting wise. It is so hard. I am terrible at it. I'm bad. I'm not good. It is
I
so
don't know about that because look at what you and I do here when we do our podcasts, or when we're emceeing, when we're at a show and we're emceeing, or that's improv, right? We're just
sort of,
okay. I
yeah.
may have a couple little notes in my pocket. But normally I'm just going off the cuff, and that is improv.
Yeah.
And we will look for the funny. We'll look for something will be funny. We may just say it. So
Yeah.
you are better than you think,
Thank you.
because you do this a lot, and I do it a lot as far as hosting and emceeing. And when you're doing your podcast, you are improving. Yes, you have a couple notes and you have some stuff in there, but basically we're just BSing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
for sure.
that is improv. Now, some
That is
people, as you said, can't do it. They get
right.
into, especially when it comes to acting, and you have a room full of people, whether you're on a callback for a movie, and all of a sudden, the most terrifying thing I used to do when you get a callback, you go in for an audition, they put you on tape, they say, great, we may be bringing you back in a couple days for the director. And when I would audition for Seinfeld, if you made that second callback and you got to that callback, you go into a room, there's friggin' 30 writers in there, and there's Jerry Seinfeld at the end of this big, long, giant table. And they're like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Then they go, hey, you ready? And you're like, oh, crap. So that would be, and you're like, I got to be funny in this thing. And there's one of the funniest guys in the world right there. And there's all these writers, and they all shut up. The casting director's looking at you. Very intimidating. But eventually, if you do it long enough and you get good at improv, because it'll change. You'll feel more comfortable.
Mhm.
And I can go in a room with anybody now and audition. It doesn't matter whether it's two people or 50 people. I'm comfortable doing that, but that takes time. But it is a lot of improv, because they'll say you do it one way, then they'll go, no, no, no. Pretend you're an 8-year-old child or something, from the Philippines. I don't know, that doesn't make sense, but do it differently. And if you are not good with improv, or being able to switch real quick and think fast on your feet, and that's where improv comes in. And that's where I've seen Derek Mears. He's so quick on his feet,
Mhm.
as we say. He's so quick up here to hear something and then just go wham and put something together. Robin Williams had it. A
Mhm.
lot of these other comedians have it. And it's something that, yes, it's a gift, but you can learn it.
Thank you. I need to get out of my comfort zone and do it, honestly, because I'm always so scared of not knowing what to say.
Let's go back to Bakersfield. We'll do it. We'll do a weekend in Bakersfield.
I'm not going back to Bakersfield.
Okay.
I only go back when I have to. I'd rather visit you in any part of California than Bakersfield, unless I'm going there to eat tacos.
I'm the taco king. So if you're telling me that I need to, I will. I have been known to drive a few hours for a good taco.
So my favorite taco place, and it's still there. They got many locations in Bakersfield. Every time I go there, which has been like twice since I moved, it's not very many times, I eat it constantly. It's called La Vila Tacos. It is the best. And the meat is so lean, at least it used to be, right? It's been many years. The meat is so lean and so delicious. And, the onions and cilantro, so fresh. Anyway, just good old, street tacos and just the best.
Oh,
I have been in Chicago for 16 years, and I have not found a better taco, and I'm still looking. So
it's tough. I will tell you funny. So uh, when I was doing Monster Garage and I was doing some of this other stuff, I do a lot of car shows and bike shows, and I was doing a thing called Sturgis on the River, which is in Davenport, Iowa. Big bike show,
Mhm.
uh, bikers and everything. And I'm doing the local radio in the morning, and then hey, it's Big Swag, blah blah blah. And they go something about tacos, and I'm like, Billy Gibbons, who's a friend of mine, the singer of ZZ Top. Not to drop names, but he's just a really cool guy, and I met him years ago in Hollywood, and we stayed friends. He is the legitimate taco king. I'm like, Billy Gibbons can tell me right now in the state of Illinois where to go to get a good taco, and they're like, bull crap. It's 5:30 in the morning, 3:30 in the or 5:30 in the morning because people get up early in Iowa. And I'm like, well, let's call him. And I forgot. I forgot it's 5:30 in the morning. But so it was probably 2:30
Yeah.
or 3:30 in L.A. But he picked up the phone. Hey, Schwag, what's up? I said, look at Illinois, good taco place. And he goes, Illinois, okay. And then he started to proceed to tell us about where to get a good taco. And then he picked up the phone. I said, these people don't believe I know you. And he's like, oh, the Big Schwag's a good guy. So yeah, I kind of pride myself on where to find tacos, and if not, I can always call Billy Gibbons and figure out where a good taco place is. So
Well, next time you talk to him, ask him about a good taco place in Chicago.
okay,
City
all
limits
right,
preferably. I don't have a
done
car,
deal.
so it's hard to
I'm
get
going to be
to
on the
places.
search now. A good friend of mine, CJ Vecchio, who's a director that I work for, lives in Chicago. In fact, does the Chicago Horror Film Festival. I think he just took that over this
Oh,
year, and we'll have to get you there. Maybe you're going to have to
yes.
go get over there and see him. But
Absolutely.
CJ, he knows his way around a plate of food. So CJ, if you're watching, get with me and tell me where this young lady can find a good taco in the Chicago area.
Yeah. So, Big Schwag, favorite kind of taco?
Pastor.
Ooh, I'm a carne asada girl myself.
I mean, it just depends, but if I can eat pastor and it's
Mm.
good, I'll eat that every time. But yeah, carne asada after that, and then chicken or fish a close third.
Yeah. I think it's for me, I always go for the steak of some sort if it's available, and if it's not available, then it's not a good taco place, honestly. If all they can offer me is ground beef, I'm gonna walk out.
I don't like lingua, tongue and
Oh,
or
yeah.
brain and some of this other stuff, and
Yeah.
I'd be like,
I'm not that fancy.
I'm like, nah, I like it how I like it, and I'll eat a lot of them.
Yes.
So I'm going to Albuquerque, New Mexico, Albuquerque Comic Con in January, and in Albuquerque there's a place called El Paisa,
Mm.
which you take a sandwich bag, right? Just like you're going to put a sandwich in a little clear sandwich bag,
Yeah.
and they put the hot sauce in that bag and then spin it off, and you get a little corner, and it's like I'm like, man, this is a drug place or something. The most amazing tacos, not that I've ever had, but it's a top 5 taco place for me. El
Wow.
Paisa, Albuquerque, not in the greatest neighborhood, so just be brave.
Yeah.
But the best
Don't
hot
feel like
sauce.
I'm going through Bakersfield.
Oh yeah, you got no problem there. But yeah, so that's my pick for Albuquerque, El Paisa.
You should do a reality show on tacos.
you
Touring
know,
the country for tacos.
listen, and I'll grab you, and we'll co-host it, and here we go.
Yes!
Or we'll have you
So
in one
game.
part of the country, and
Yes.
I'll be in the other. And
Hey, that sounds like my dream show, honestly. I get to eat tacos.
there is a girl out here who rides a Harley who does a thing. I think it's on YouTube though, but it's not picked up. But she'll go to different taco places on the Harley and stop in, and oh, this is great. And I follow her on Instagram just so I could see there's some cool
Yeah.
places I haven't been to.
Yes.
Because there's
And
nothing like, I mean, you may have a problem riding your Harley if you eat too many tacos and the hot sauce is too much. I don't know if you want to be on your bike on the way home, but riding a Harley, going eating tacos is pretty cool.
I always try to make myself walk. Like I do no car, right? So public transit all the way or walking. So the best taco I found in my area is a mile away from my apartment.
Okay.
And so I'll walk there and get my taco and walk back. And people are like, why don't you just call an Uber? And I'm like, because I ate the taco. So I got to exercise now. It's my punishment for eating the taco. But then I feel better at the end of it all. And I'm like,
Of
I still
course.
worked out.
Listen, you never see people eating tacos that are mad.
I know, right? Tacos are
Okay.
happiness.
That's right. It's a happy meal.
Okay, so of course my listeners are going to kill me if we don't stop talking about tacos and start talking about Leatherface.
Yeah.
Okay. As much as I love
So
taco talk with
yeah.
Swag and Summer, let's talk about Leatherface. So, how did that opportunity come to you?
So here's the deal. I remember in 2002, I knew they were going to be doing the movie. They were looking for like a, they said they were looking for a local hire in Texas, for, I was like, what? I'm like, I'm going to look for a local hire to play Leatherface for God's sakes. And I'd already been friends with a lot of the guys, R.A. Mihailoff and
Mhm.
Bob Elmore and these guys. And I'm like, man, and there's very few things in the horror genre that you can do, you know, the Jasons. You're never going to be, Freddy Krueger.
Right.
They tried that with someone else. It didn't work. Great
Mhm.
actor, by the way. Um,
Wasn't right for the
but
part. I
yeah,
don't even think it
yeah,
was his fault because
no,
the
no,
movie itself was poorly executed. He could
yes,
have done great. It just wasn't the right movie.
100%. So tough to find that stuff. All of a sudden, they're going to hire some. So when they local hire, they're going to hire some bouncer. They're going to hire some ex Dallas Cowboy football player, blew out his knee. Now he working the door at a club or something. So I went in for a commercial audition. And when you go in for commercial auditions in LA, it's a building. There'll be different studios. Studio one, Taco Bell. Studio two, Ford. Studio three, it said TCM. And I was like, the hell's going on? So I called my commercial agent and I said, hey, this commercial casting lady has TCM. Can you find out if that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre? And can you ask her if they've hired Leatherface yet? He called me back in an hour. I said, no, they haven't. She said, if you want to come in tomorrow and put yourself on tape. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I went to Salvation Army, found some suit, and I was big. I was 350 pounds. I was 50 pounds bigger than I am now. I was just a big, massive lump of meat,
Mhm.
at 6'5", 350. Found this suit, went in. She says, okay, what do you want to do? I said, just roll the camera. And I was in this thing, and I said, Michael Bay, for God's sakes, do not hire just some jabroni off the streets in Texas to play this guy. I said, and I started naming Gunnar Hansen and all these guys that had played it were actors, man. Don't hire an actor for this, and a couple other things. And then she had a little girl working the camera filming, to put me on tape, and I grabbed her real quick and threw over my shoulder, and she was, oh, and she said, put me down. And I turned around and I said, I'll see you in Texas. And then I put her down and she said, is that it? And I said, that's it. Yeah. I mean, what else are you going to do? There's nothing that you can actually read for.
Right.
You can't say, oh, I got to do these lines. So the next day she called me and said, Michael Bay thought you were funny. You're hired. And I was like, oh, crap. I'm like, really? And she goes, yeah, you're it. But don't tell. Now I called 1,000 people. R.A. Mihailoff, my first call. I said, all right, who's playing Leatherface? He goes, no. I said, me. And he goes, oh my God, congrats. And then a half hour later, she calls me, says, don't tell anybody, by the way. And I'm like, I just called 1,000 people. Um, but we had 2 months before shooting, go and get the costumes, all that worked up and, uh, getting the costume made, getting the mask made. And we get to Austin. I don't remember if it was July or August or something in 2002, but we get to Austin. It's super hot. I'm in this thing and I was there for probably legitimately a week, but I filmed a day and a half on camera and I do the Kemper kill, the first kill in the movie, but I got heat stroke.
Mhm.
So as I kept dragging him and kept dragging him, I felt myself. I was like, oh man, I'm sweating like a pig. And there's black mold up in the corner that, I'm just like, everything is like hitting me at once. And then I hit the ground, got up, had to take the mask off, and I drank 7 Gatorades outside. But when you get heat stroke and you're deprived of that water, all your muscles tighten up. So the muscles in my back tightened up. And I'm lucky that I had a few pain pills on me
Mhm.
in my bag and took those real quick to finish that scene because slamming that door was so hard. And my back, I'm in so much pain slamming that door. But then I knew I went to the hospital that night. And the next day, one of the producers, is like, what's the bottom line? I said, it's going to take about a week for my back to be relaxed enough to continue filming. And I knew that that was, they, on a 18-20 million dollar movie, you don't have a week to wait. They got to
Right.
finish. So I knew. In fact, I kept calling Transpo. I said, "You pick anybody up today?" No. Picking me up, and he goes, and on the third day, he's like, "I picked up this big guy, big muscular, loud guy," and I'm like, and I knew right away. I'm like, "Oh, that's Andrew Bernarski," because he had worked with him on Pearl Harbor, and
Mm.
I was like, okay, if someone's going to replace me, um, at the time, I was like, well, he's a great option.
Mhm.
He was a very good actor. He did a tremendous job,
Mhm.
but I never talked about it because I was embarrassed,
Mm.
and then I think my agents were trying to. Well, they owe you the money for the rest of the movie, so they were going to sue them, and I don't think they were very happy about that. And at the ending, when it came down to it, I said, just drop it. I don't want to. I would
Mm.
eventually like to do another Michael Bay movie if I'm ever given the chance.
Don't wanna burn that bridge.
Yeah, I think we still burnt it, but unfortunately, but you live and learn. But Andrew did a great job. He was so brutal as Leatherface, and I carved my little thing. Didn't even know it was in the because I had to get rid of everything in my house that was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I had quite a big collection because I didn't
Mm.
want to see it and remind myself that, man, you were Leatherface, and then a week later you were not. So,
Yeah.
but I've come to grips with it, and it's just a little piece of I got to be Leatherface, and I do the first kill in the movie, and I'm still pretty excited that I got to be that guy and do the kill, and
Yeah.
people seem to like that first kill, and I
It's the
get
most
rid of a.
cringy, like,
Yeah. So it was in the previews, right? So if you went and saw the trailer at the movie theater, the last thing you see is Leatherface slamming that door shut, and I had no idea.
it's such an
And,
iconic image from the original.
yeah, and it was so cool. So when I saw Gunnar, I met Gunnar Hansen with Dan Yeager at Monster Palooza in L.A. Dan Yeager was in Texas. He was Leatherface in part the 3D,
Mhm.
and he introduced me to Gunnar Hansen, and Gunnar Hansen was like, "I had no idea you did that first scene." And then he's like, "Sit down." And then I sat down with him while he was signing for people, and he was so nice and chatting with me for a couple hours, as he's signing, and was just a really good guy. And you know, um, and over the last couple of years, doing a lot of conventions, the people are like, very receptive and
Mhm.
very happy because they didn't know there was another guy, and if you're a horror fan, you need my autograph on your stuff. So
I
if you
do.
don't have it,
I do.
for God's sakes, it's not complete. So I've been blessed to be able to do a lot of shows, and then I have done a lot of other horror movies, but obviously being Leatherface, one of the Leatherfaces in the 2003 remake is a big deal.
Yeah.
And
It's a
and
testament to your performance and Andrew's as well. I couldn't tell the difference, and clearly no one else could either. So either that is you guys's performances or editing or a combination of the 2. Never knew, looked like the same performer to me. So, you guys
yeah,
both did a great job.
and I always tell people, I say, look at, sometimes they'll bring pictures that are not me or
Yeah.
stuff that's not me, and I say, that's not me. I'm just going to let you know
Mhm.
that's Andrew, and I would rather sign something else for you if you have it. I mean, I signed chainsaws, but I never even used the chainsaw. I used the sledgehammer. So I also bring a lot of these. I bring these bloody prop sledgehammers. Scared City Productions, these guys in Arkansas make these bloody, very lightweight sledgehammers that are so cool. So this whole last year, that's been the big ticket thing, right? So you come to the table and they're like, "Where are the sledgehammers?" I'm like, "They're right there," and they're so
Oh.
cool. Except sometimes people forget if they've flown in. I'm like, I don't know how you're going to get that back on the plane. They sometimes think.
Luckily, a lot of these cities I go to now, I have local friends who take my
Yeah.
stuff and mail it to me.
Hold on, let me grab one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at that.
Yeah. So this bad boy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so what's that made of?
Well, that is real wood.
Okay.
It's a very lightweight wood, and this is some kind of composite they make. But I mean,
It does seem like it has some weight to it.
you could do some damage with this thing.
It's amazing. I really love I gotta get one. If I see you in person, I gotta get one. I just got to. Um, I really love that, um some of the Jasons, especially CJ
Oh,
and Warrington, have machetes to sign,
oh yeah,
and they're real machetes. They're small, but they're sharp,
yes, yeah,
and they come with a sleeve and everything.
oh yeah.
So I got one of those, the first time I met, Warrington, and the second time I met CJ, and I had them both sign it. It was so cool.
One of the nicest guys, CJ Graham, one of the nicest guys in the business. One of my favorite Friday the 13th, by the way. That the one he's in
Yeah.
with Tom Matthews, who
The
Tom Matthews is a good friend of
old
mine now.
person. It's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, so
Like
Tom
people.
Matthews and CJ, I've been doing a lot of shows with them over the last year and a half or 2 years. So just two really down to earth guys
Mhm,
that make it. You can watch. You watch them, and you
mhm,
watch how they deal with fans.
mhm.
And if you're a first time person going to a convention as a guest or a celebrity coming in, you can watch these people. I'll watch Bill Mosley. I've watched Doug Jones, Doug the Hug Jones, for God's sakes, so hug everybody. But
Yes.
they make everybody happy to be at their table, whether someone buys something off of your table or not. I always give them a couple minutes to say hello and thank you for coming by,
Mhm.
and you have to do that, or you won't. Bottom line is you won't be working conventions, and the conventions are a nice way to get out and see some friends and make a couple dollars
Yeah.
and have a good time.
Can I tell you what a wonderful person CJ is, my story?
Yes.
It's such a small act, but no one's ever done this for me before. My first convention I was hosting at Days of the Dead Chicago in 2021. And I was hosting a panel with CJ Warrington, and they surprised me with Tom Matthews as well. Right? He just shows up. I was like, "We got an extra." I'm like, "Well, then got him a fan." And I know enough about you to wing this, you know. But but the stage was set up with bar stools. There were really tall chairs, and I'm 5'2", and I'm resetting the stage, and I'm picking up a stool, and CJ grabs it from me and takes it over. No one's ever carried a chair for me in my life, and I was so like thinking about Tom Matthews and what I'm going to say about that I didn't notice that until I edited the video and I saw that part and the camera was rolling, and I was like, no one has ever, no man has ever taken a chair for me to help me. Not
That
even
is
at
very.
work, not even at restaurants.
He is a wonderful guy. He's that guy.
A
He's
gentleman.
tall. He's handsome. I'm just
Mhm.
telling you, he's got the whole package, and he's got
Yeah.
horses up on his ranch up there.
Yes.
He is every woman's dream, for God's sakes. Um, yeah, he's he's a great guy. You were talking about worried about saying stuff. I do a podcast with John Henderson,
Yes.
Doomsday's Crypt Keeper. We do shooting the shiz with DK and the Schwag. He's a wonderful guy, but I always panic. I'm like, who do we got coming on? And I will write. I mean, I got notes all over the place, pages and pages of notes on people because that's always a worry. We've gone through an hour now BSing, but when you're doing an hour sometimes with folks and you're like, you get all the questions out or they don't want to talk, then you're like,
If
oh
they're not
no,
chatty.
they're not chatty. You're like, oh no, now I've done it enough and John's good enough that if we get someone else not chatty, we can always, they can either join us and sit there
Mhm.
and join in on the conversation. We'll switch the conversation to something else. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's always a fear. Even when I did a wrestling show called Wrestling 101. That was we were in like 48 different markets across the country, and we kept growing and growing. And I had Samoa Joe, John Cena used to answer our phones, for God's sakes, these wrestling guys, and I always panicked when we had a guest that wasn't a wrestling guy or somebody that wasn't that wrestling because I'm like, oh, I know wrestling, I know this guy, I can ask those questions. But if it's somebody that's not wrestling, I'm like, oh no, what if I'm going to look like a schmuck and I don't want to look like a schmuck? Public humiliation is like one of the worst things in the world.
I know. That's me when I have to talk to wrestlers, by the way. I'm like, "I don't know what to say. I have no idea who you are, Jake the Snake."
Oh my
Literally, no
God.
idea. I know, right?
Well,
Like,
now you know that you can call me. You
Then
can
act
send
like
me a
it's not.
message and say, "Look at I." And by the way, what you do is great. And I've heard it before when we're talking about Days of the Dead and UMC
Mhm.
and doing interviews. It's not an easy thing to do. People think, okay, not only are you worried about the people you're interviewing, but you have, sometimes 1,000 or more people sitting in the audience, hundreds of people watching.
Mhm.
And so you're like, you put that together and you're
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, look at this. But I hear you are excellent at what you do. Days of the Dead has come a long way from its inception.
Mhm.
God knows how many different cities they're in now. But
They
that
keep
is
adding
pretty,
new ones. We're doing Phoenix for the first time next year and Houston for the second time.
yeah. Well, Phoenix is only 6 hours. Maybe I'll come visit you, say hello.
Awesome. We also you
Um,
said you're in California, right?
I'm in California, so
We got
6 hour
LA
drive.
in August and Vegas also.
Ah, well, we're gonna have to come say hello. We'll
Yeah.
bring the wife. I'll bring my dog Lola, and we'll go have something. I will take you to a great taco spot.
Where? In LA or
Uh,
Vegas or Phoenix?
we got plenty. There's hundreds of places now. They're usually trucks, but I know the good trucks.
I like trucks. I like taco trucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's you do a good job at what you do. I've watched some videos. I've seen you interviewing folks and entertaining the crowd, and it's I wish a lot more cons would do that
Mhm.
because yeah, they may be busy, but folks need to know what's going on, especially if it's super busy and someone's coming up for a photo op, or make sure you go get in line, or Robert England's leaving, so hurry up and get over there. And a lot of different shows. I mean, by the grace of God, they're starting to finally understand that
Mhm.
having somebody full time on a mic,
Mhm.
whether it's every 10, 15 minutes, whether it's every half hour to chime in and to say something, and then do the interviews and have a good time doing interviews with folks when you're doing a panel,
Mhm.
that's a big must.
Yeah, part of what I like to do, and it doesn't always work out timing wise, but you know, I did my Kane Hodder panel at one point on one of these cons, and I'm like, guys, in 45 minutes, he has a Wishmaster reunion panel. So you got Kane, you got Tony Todd, you got Andrew Devoff, you got to get it. So that's 45 minutes. Don't miss it. Go, go.
Yeah,
I wish I could, but I'm up here. I can't. Go.
yeah. And that's a
If I
problem,
wasn't up there, I would have done it.
and I've missed some stuff sometimes because you do. I mean, look, at panels are great, and sometimes you're like, oh my God, because if you're busy signing, the last thing you want to do is go do a panel real quick. But you tell the folks, hey, I'll be back. I'll be back in 20, 30 minutes. Hopefully those panels are not too long because you do have other stuff to do. I got to go.
Yeah.
If I'm doing full costume photo ops, like I'll be doing this Saturday in Edison, New Jersey, uh, um, with Felissa Rose and a couple other people at the horror sideshow market. Horror side, yeah, that's it. Horror sideshow
Oh,
market. So
favorite.
yeah, so I'll wear half of the costume the whole day just because it's tough to it's tough to all of a sudden take because otherwise it'd take me 20 minutes to get in the full Leatherface outfit. So if
Mhm.
I wear half of it, I beat the battle, and then I just got to put the apron on, the rings, and the mask, and go do the photo op. So, but
Yeah.
yes, Summer Flynn, you do a good job. That has been the consensus of a lot of people that I know.
Oh, really? Not just
So,
mine?
yes, there's a lot of people that mention your name.
Really?
It's like a horror movie. Don't mention her name 5 times, but 4 times is all right. So yeah,
5
so I
times she's
knew
gonna
about
show up with a microphone.
so I knew about you before we did this. I'm like, oh
That's
yeah, and John said
crazy.
that. Oh, Summer Flynn. I'm like, yeah, she's the cool girl that's doing all the interviews and emceeing and everything, and she knows her
Oh,
stuff. So, and John is very good at that and knows his stuff. So if he
yes.
knows that you're the bomb diggity, then a lot of people do.
He was just on the dolls. We recorded the episode, maybe a week ago, and it's gonna be our New Year's Day episode.
Ooh,
John will be
that's
coming.
right. So all
John
the
knows
stuff that
stuff.
I've been talking about with dates probably are not even going to count.
Well,
So
this is going to I'm gonna get this out, like, in the next couple of days, so that's gonna be
okay,
fine.
all right,
But the other episode, it was one of our weekly episodes. John's episode was one of our
sure.
weekly movie review episodes, so that's
Very
New Year's.
very brilliant guy, very smart guy when it comes to he really he John. I did an episode of his show, and then I was just like, man, this is good, and he knows what he's doing, and he gives a voice to a lot of independent filmmakers,
Mhm.
a lot of mask makers, a lot of guys that do stuff like that, that make stuff that's horror. genre theme stuff, and I love doing a show with him. So, and we give voice to, like I said, the independent filmmakers, a lot of special effects guys,
Hmm.
um, and young directors too. And now we may get an older director on soon, trying to get Don Coscarelli to do me a favor and come on. Just a
The lucky
wonderful guy.
man.
Him and Yeah, he's a great guy, and I was so blessed to become friends with him. Here's Don Coscarelli, right? I do one scene in a movie for him. Nicest guy in the world. I go to Monster Palooza, or not Monster Palooza? Yeah, Monster Palooza. And he's talking to all these guys in suits. And he goes, "Oh, one of my actors is here, guys. You got to excuse me." And I'm like, "Don, you don't have to leave. Don, go back. I don't. No, no, no. How's everything?" And then he really wants to know how things are. How you doing?
Oh,
What's going on? And I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm auditioning for this, doing that." And he goes, "Oh, it's good to see you, man." And he's very nice to my wife. His wife is wonderful. His daughter has written books. I think I got like a vegan, not vegan. It might be vegan. I got a cookbook from his daughter that's diabetic friendly cookbook for desserts. I got to look it up. I got it somewhere in here. And I'm like,
oh,
what a cool family, for God's
right.
sake.
And you said you were diabetic, is that correct?
I am diabetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
When I was,
especially handy for you.
it is. Not that I have to start really taking my diabetes more serious, because as you get older,
Mhm.
you know, and then they say you're going under the knife, things start coming off. As much as I like chopping things off in movies, I don't like chopping things off on my own foot. So,
Yeah, I mean, isn't that what happened with Steve Dash? He was having diabetic surgery on something diabetic related amputation and then got infected?
yeah, and that's the thing. So, low blood circulation affects everything, right? I mean, people think, boy, low blood circulation from diabetes and all that affects on your skin.
Mhm.
So you get people, well, you get very flaky skin, and it can affect, you start looking up these diseases that you can get on your skin, and you go, who gets that? And the doctor will say, well, people that are diabetic that don't take care of the diabetes. And I'm like, oh man. So yeah, you got to take care of your diabetes, and as I'm getting older, I still go in for these physical roles as an actor. And so you got to stay in somewhat kind of shape. And so it's always a constant battle, whether it's, the food intake and going to the gym. Like, I'm going to be done here. I'm going to go take my dog for a walk, and then I'm going to go mail some stuff for the wife. We had our anniversary yesterday, by the way, 8 years,
Happy 8 years.
married, 12 years
Congratulations.
together.
That's great. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm very lucky to have met someone that can put up with my crap, and it's not easy. It's definitely not easy when you're an actor and you host stuff and you MC this and that,
And
and
you're
you're
always
always
traveling and
always traveling. And
mhm.
this year alone, and now we have a dog, right? So when she was working from home, it was easy. Now she's got to go back to Warner Brothers,
Mm.
get up at 6 a.m., be at work at 7, and then work the day. So I am the babysitter, which is fine. But when I go out of town, it poses a problem. So we're going to figure it out. I'm just blessed that Dee Dee Bigelow Wagner married me a long time ago, and has still loves me.
Aw, I can't wait to meet her in the flesh. I can't wait. Your pictures yesterday were beautiful. She's a beautiful woman, and you look so happy. It's
Thank you very much.
mhm,
It's great. I was signing. So Dark Delicacies is a horror 365 days a year store.
mhm.
Very famous in LA. A lot of signings. Anytime someone has a movie, or a book that comes out that's sci-fi horror related, you go sign there. And I was doing a thing for Japan had that tsunami, like 12 years ago, that devastated everything out there. And we were doing raising money for that deal. I forget who brought me in, but I was sitting there signing, and this beautiful woman with very big personalities came up, and I was just like, oh gosh. And 2 weeks later, we went on our first date, and 6 months later, I asked her to marry me, and 12 years later, we're still together.
That's amazing. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
And it will happen for you too, Summer.
I hope so.
It's going to happen.
I've been put through the
I know.
relationship ringer, man. Oh
I
my
know, but we're
god.
going to find somebody. There's going to be a special, certain somebody for you. You're too fun a young lady, and you're still young, by the way. You're too nice of a woman and talented not to have someone there in your corner for you.
Thanks. Yeah.
We're
Yep.
going to find that person, whether they're horror movie friendly, which they're going to have to be.
I mean, I will make an exception. I mean, after I separated from the husband, I fell madly in love with someone who hated horror, was very scared, didn't want to watch him, but I loved him so very much that I was willing to overlook that, and then he dumped me out of the blue for somebody else, and I'm still trying to figure out where I went wrong and why I wasn't good enough for him.
How did we get on this subject? Let's move on. I don't know what
Talking about
happened
your
there.
wifey wife, but yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, been put through the emotional ringer, so yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna take a sip of my Diet Coke now.
I'm going to take, oh gosh, Diet Coke sounds so yummy right now.
So delicious. Not sponsored, but my favorite beverage.
My favorite beverage as well. Now, listen, Diet Coke, two very big personalities right here. We will, I can go through a case of Diet Coke a week. I don't.
I can go through a case a day.
Okay.
It's kind of since I had my heart broken this last time, it was all I was consuming, and water and tea. I w- I went through my fridge 6 months later. Oh, basically I realized it was the first time I opened it other than for something other than Diet Coke, and the milk was 6 months expired. It expired in September of 2022.
As a guy, we still may check that out just to be.
Yeah, and I'm like, actually, no, it was over 6 months. It was, like, almost a year. It was, like, 10 months,
Oh,
and so that's all I was consuming for that time was water and Diet Coke and, maybe a granola bar if I started to feel nauseous, and, tea, iced tea, no sugar. Just yes, that's my diet. I went back to my skating diet, and, yeah, and then I was like, "Yeah, this milk expired in September of 2022. That makes sense." Along with the
it
rest of the
does.
food in
Of
there.
course. Listen, when I get depressed, I do silly things. I eat way too much.
Yeah. See, I just
Uh,
stopped completely. I was like, "No more food. No more food for
yeah,
you. I don't
I will
deserve
go,
it
but
anymore."
a nice, a very chilled Diet Coke where it's almost not frozen, but is
A little
so good, and
frosty.
people don't understand that. And don't give me the Coke Zero thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't taste the same.
No, it doesn't, and I prefer whatever artificial they use in the diet. I don't know. I like it better. I really loved, speaking of Coke products, no longer exists. I was a Tab girl. I love Tab. I guess I really like that taste of saccharin because it tasted very much
Yeah.
like Sweet and Low, but I loved it. It was so
Some of your
good.
audience may not even know what Tab is.
I know they gotta be older.
Tab had a
Yeah,
cool logo,
very
cool
beautiful
can.
pink can. They just discontinued it like 2 years ago.
I was hoping you were going to say I was a Zima girl. I loved Zima, but I'll take the Tab.
I love the Tab. First of all, the pink can, how I love pink. How can you not love a pink can? And I have always had a strange addiction to the taste of saccharin. Like I used to shoot Sweet and Low packets at the diner because I thought they tasted delicious. Like a moron. I know it's like the worst artificial sweetener for you, but I really love the flavor. So when I discovered Tab, no calories and tastes like my favorite artificial sweetener, I was so excited.
So where is Summer Flynn going to be next?
Summer Flynn, when are we? We're in December. Summer Flynn will be at Days of the Dead Atlanta in the end of January. And then we've got Vegas in March. Also, the next week, we got Chicago in March.
Where
This is 2024.
John Henderson will have a table. I know
Yes.
CJ Vecchio, my buddy, the taco guy, is going to have a table.
Really? Same table?
Yeah,
Different table?
they're both going to have tables there. CJ is going to probably be promoting his Chicago Horror Film Festival and a
Okay.
couple movies he's done. A movie I was in with him called The Evil Three, a fan film.
Mm,
Um, so you're going to have some good company there
yes, I
and
can't
some
wait to
people
meet
that you can hang out with.
exactly. I I'm so grateful for my horror family. Honestly, the best group of friends that I could ever ask for. And with the Days of the Dead family, we all just, we go to several shows a year, and so we get back together, and it's like summer camp. It's the
Yeah,
most beautiful thing.
wait till you get to Arizona, right? Let me tell you something about that fan base out there. People don't get it. Arizona has got a huge horror fan base, and those people will come out. It's going to be, you guys are going to do great. Yeah, that's a big show. I just went and did a December to Dismember for Terror Trader,
That's
which,
right.
yeah, Terror Trader is a 365 days
Mhm.
a year store as well out there. Great people, really good folks that, they brought in some tremendous vendors and
Yeah.
some cool guests. Andrew Divoff, of
I
course.
love him. He's
Melissa,
so kind.
he's so cool. People don't realize how cool, and they go, "Wow, I'm like, there's another guy like
He's also worked with everybody.
Tony Todd, Andrew Divoff. Really, if you take away their horror movie credits,
Mhm.
there's so much. There's hundreds of things there. These guys have been actors forever. It
Yeah.
just so happens they happen to be in some iconic
Yes.
horror films. And Andrew Divoff has his own beer.
Mhm.
That's right. The Wishmaster has his own frickin' beer. I
Mhm.
love
From
Andrew.
Tree
Andrew's great.
Farm Brewery, right? Yeah.
Unbelievable. Just a tremendously nice guy. And of course, Felissa Rose and Dave Sheridan was there. And
Felissa's
um,
the best. I adore her. When the first time I met her was my first convention ever. She knew who I was because for some reason she started following me on Instagram, and this was before I was doing horror stuff like this, right? So no, my Instagram was like whatever. It was like ballet and figure skating, And I walked up to her, I said, "Hi, I'm Summer Flynn." And she's like, "Oh my God, so nice to meet you." And then I cried. I ugly cried all over her. She's probably like, "Oh,
no,
lost all chill." Like,
uh,
ah.
she is really great. In fact, she called me up and asked me if I could do this gig that we're doing this Saturday, and I was glad to say yes. So
Yes.
that's a tremendous, and we, and she still works like a mad woman on film. She's still filming. How she can fit that all in and has kids, the whole bit, for God's sakes. I mean, she's a workaholic and
Yeah,
very nice lady, and
the best.
um, yeah, blessed to know her.
We all are. Anyone who knows her feels that way. And I must mention, since we've talked about a few other stores, you did a signing event at my friend Christy's store, Nightmare Toys in Vegas, a while back.
So Christy and her man, they uh, they are so cool. They are
They
such
are.
good people. Yeah, I was filming a movie called Desert Fiends. Sean C. Phillips, director, and Scout Taylor Compton, Tom Arnold, the Big Schwag, and a whole bunch of other people. Dirty Joe, uh, Joe Gonzalez.
Love Dirty Joe.
Yeah, he's doing really well, man. He put out this music
I'm
video,
so
pays for
proud of
everything.
him. I'm so
He,
proud of him and his
yeah,
film. So proud.
he's winning. Look at him and his mom were in that makeup for like 8 hours. His mom, for one scene or two scenes she was in, or in that makeup for 8 hours. Joe Castro doing the
I
makeup, which was
love Joe
great.
Castro. I've never met him, but his effects since I was a kid, I love them.
Unbelievable. And Joe has worked so hard,
Mhm.
and and he helps produce some other stuff. Um, and he jumps in on anybody that's got an Indiegogo campaign. He jumps in and helps and loves to do it. And I'm just very happy for his success. And I think we're going to probably do another music video soon, and he's going to win some more awards. So he's a great guy. And
He is
so
a
we did
really
this
great
movie,
person. I love
huh?
him. He's a great
Yeah.
person. His lady is wonderful. I love them
Oh
both
yeah.
so much. I'm so happy that I get to know them. And I got to visit with them in Chicago last month at the convention, and I
Yeah.
saw his awards, and he let me do a video like like a fangirl video for him, and it was great. I'm so proud. I Because when I first time I met him, he was thinking about doing this stuff. He's
Yeah.
done it, and he's done it well, and people are
Yeah.
recognizing him, and I'm so proud of him.
And he holds a he's got a full-time job. People don't understand that. I don't have a full-time job. I sometimes wish I did, but you have a full-time job, and then you're still jet setting around. Jet setting. You're flying around to conventions. That you you're in these music awards festivals and all this stuff.
Mhm.
You're filming movies. You're doing videos. It's not an easy gig. But back to Christy and Nightmare Toys. So we're filming this movie together, and I kept bugging Christy. I would love to come sign. She goes, I said, I'm in town. She's like, why don't you come in for a Saturday? We'll sign 2 hours at Nightmare Cafe, and then we'll go over and sign at Nightmare Toys. And it was so fun. It was so good, so busy.
Mhm.
I mean, if you go to Vegas, if you're a horror movie person, sci-fi, you love that stuff, and you go to Vegas and you don't stop by there, they may not let you back into your own state again because it's a sin because they work very hard. The food's really good at the cafe next door.
So
The
good.
store is
Reviews
great. They
are
have
amazing.
they have excellent people working there. The staff is tremendous, and Christy's great. And got to do my podcast with her, which was fun, and uh, her podcast. And yeah, I can't say enough about them. They're just tremendous people. Good business, good work ethic. They're just wonderful folks.
Very proud of all that they have accomplished with the store as well and getting it moved all the way across the country during the pandemic. And I went over to Vegas because it was the pandemic, so all my conventions were canceled and work was still making me take the time off. And it just happened to be my canceled convention happened to be during her grand opening. So I'm like, well, why don't I just come to Vegas and help you with your grand opening? So
Here's
I got
two
to do that.
here's two suggestions when you go to Vegas: the Punk Rock Museum and Nightmare Toys. If you do those two things, you're golden. You don't need to do anything else.
And go hungry because you need to go to Nightmare Cafe too.
Yeah, go hungry.
The portions are huge, so don't be like, just, "Oh, I want a snack." No, you need a meal. Go to
Yeah, I
Nightmare
I,
Cafe.
I think I would think that with their success, I mean, listen, if I hit the lottery tomorrow, I'm going to go talk to them because I would love to. I think Nightmare Toys could branch out and do different state. They could have one in different states.
Mhm.
LA could use one. Um, I mean, different states could use them. They're great.
They're the best, and, as you said, really amazing people, and it's important to support good people.
Now there is a place out by you,
Yes, there is.
the Horror House.
The Horror House.
Now those guys, Vinny and his crew there. I just wanted to make sure. I was like, I know what it is. I just want to make sure I don't blow it. Those guys are great. Now they have it's not a big store, but
Yeah.
boy, they bring in some great people. We're working on something so I can come down there and maybe sign for them and do something. Yes, at the horror store. So great guys, and Chicago's cool.
I met the
Chicago's a
Horror House
great spot.
guys. Yeah, I met those guys for the first time last month at the convention. And they're so cool. I'm gonna go to their store and do like an interview with them. We're trying to work that out. And
Awesome.
yeah, I think it would be really, really fun. Because I've been wanting to reach out for a while, and it was like, great, this is meant to be. And yeah, I have not yet gotten to go to that store because I also work all the time. I have two jobs. Before I got laid off from my other job, I had three. So I work all the time. So I haven't gotten over there yet, but in January when things slow down, and we're gonna make it happen. And
Yeah,
when you get out there, you gotta let me know. Give me some heads up, and we need to go to dinner.
I would listen. I'm all for. I would love to do it. We'll grab CJ Vecchio, you and myself, and we'll go grab some, and we'll grab Vinny from the Horror House, and we'll go horror. Let me say that right. I sometimes say horror, and they go Horror House. I'm like, no, no.
The best little
I'm
whorehouse in Chicago.
in Chicago. I can't put. We just put out 90 minutes of the most exciting interview people are ever going to listen to. So, like I said, you are good at what you do. I
Thank you.
appreciate you having me on.
I
And
appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your time, truly.
yeah, and well, hopefully we'll run into each other. The guys at Fearsome Figures and a couple other partners, they do Creep IE, Creep Inland Empire. There
Oh,
was
yes, it
just
was so
nothing. It's so good. It was so packed that I'm super excited to go back. In fact, they have all the people because next year is the 50th anniversary of the original OG Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So they're going to have those folks there. And I'm lucky enough that I got invited back. So I must be doing something right. And
well, you're part
it's
of the
just,
Saw family now.
I am. That's right. Yes. And if I get to kill you in a movie, then you will be part of that Saw family as well.
Yes, please.
We'll get it done. CJ Vecchio and some other people out there in Chicago, they're filming a lot. They're doing a lot of
Yeah,
stuff, and you're right there.
Chicago's a great place for it. It really, really is. Yep. All right, I'll let you go. I'm taking up so much of your day, but I appreciate your time so much. I can't wait to speak again. John is going to be bringing me onto your guys' show probably after the new year when things slow down with the
Awesome.
holidays and stuff.
Get
So,
you and we'll get you on with me and John and Beatrice,
yes.
and it'll be great. We get to just ask you a ton of questions. I'm going to
Oh,
have to do a little homework now, so
I'm ready.
I'm going to have to expand my questions. But I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to BS with you, and hopefully we'll do it in person next time.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see you. Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.